I'd like to pass over to Ashley now, who's our local resident who's gone through the process. I'll let you introduce yourself, Ashley.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks so much for inviting me today. A bit of a hard act to follow, going after all of the experts in this space, but at least I'm a bit of an expert in the building that I'm an owner at. I'm no longer living there, but very involved. So I'm going to talk, about our practical experience of getting our sustainability resolution passed and all of the steps at the Duke. So the Duke is a building in Wellington Street in Bondi. It's 9 stories. It has 48 apartments. At the moment, 16 are owner occupied and there are 32 renters. It was built back in 1976, which means that there's a lot of ongoing maintenance issues at our building. So we have to juggle what projects we need to do. At the moment, we have a very functional committee. There's 8 of us on the committee. This hasn't always been the case, though. There's certainly been times where we've ended up in NCAT in disputes with members in the committee. But at the moment, and for it's been stable for some time now, it's going along really smoothly. And it doesn't mean that we don't challenge each other. It's actually, a really good group. I've been an owner at the building for 21 years. So I've got, to recall a lot of the history of what's happened at the building. And I've been the chairperson on the committee for at least the last 5 years, probably longer, actually. I recently installed solar at my own home, although I have to give all of that credit to my husband, and he did all of the background work for that. But actually, it was really helpful then to lead us into this project at the building. We also have an excellent strata manager, also hasn't always been the case, but we switched to CEO strata about 5 years ago, and it's been really great having them on board for us. And lastly, as part of the background at our building, there has been a change in ownership over the years, a much younger group coming through now who are interested in more sustainable solutions. So that's helped to get quite a lot of our projects over the line in the last few years as well. Just to give you a rough idea of the timeline that we experienced, for us, it's 12 weeks. So started back in March when Rachel sent us an email letting us know of the soil grant becoming available. And just a few weeks later, we had submitted our stage 1 expression of interest. By the 29th of May, we held our AGM where we had both our quotes and the sustainability infrastructure resolution on the agenda. And I'll come back to the AGM later on. And that was just in time to submit our stage 2 full application on the 31st of May. So we made it by the deadline. So I wanted to give you, some of the background to our journey to solar specifically now. We were fortunate to be part of Waverley Council's Futures program that Rachel mentioned at the start. We were the second cohort back in 2019, 2020. And then you can move on to the next point. Thanks, Rach. As part of that process, we had an energy assessment completed by Gareth Huxham, one of the energy consultants. We implemented a number of recommendations as a result of that, including lighting upgrades and optimizing our rooftop exhaust fans. And at the time, we also considered putting in just a small 12.5 kilowatt rooftop solar for the common property. Unfortunately, we failed to get that over the line at an AGM in 2020. And the reasons why was there was a really large concern for our roof membrane. It had been recently replaced then at a cost of 185,000, and we knew that the quotes that we received for the rooftop solar systems was a mounting system where it was penetrating the membrane, and everyone was really scared to muck up our membrane after we'd had many years of the upper level residents experiencing leaks. And the second thing was the enabling works, which were quite costly and involved us needing to do a switchboard upgrade so that it was compatible with the solar system. So that failed, but actually it's turned out better. So 5 years fast forward, and here we are with the SOAR grant appearing. In the interim, we've already now upgraded our switchboard, so that's done. We also had an EV charging bylaw passed at an AGM and installed our infrastructure in 2023. The New South Wales government grant was really appealing, and we pitched it as a once in a lifetime type opportunity to our owners as well. But first, I sussed out the interest from the rest of the committee, who most of them had been around the last time we tried to get solar over the line, and there was definite interest again. So off we went. We jumped at that opportunity, and like I said, we got our stage 1 expression of interest passed quite quickly. And thanks, Rach. Yep, can move on. So then we had to get everything lined up. So I read the requirements quite thoroughly. I involved our strata manager, Brett, right from the start. Even though I've been leading the project, he's been supporting me. And actually, it was really nice at the AGM that he mentioned how much I'd saved the building by taking on a lot of the background work myself. I actually started off with obtaining 5 quotes. When we first applied, we needed 3, but I wanted to get a few different ones. And actually, as it turned out, that was quite helpful because in the end, there were only 2 actually that were quite comparable. I also went down a path of contacting our roof membrane installer to make sure that there wasn't going to be any issues, or if there were any concerns that we needed to be aware of, to make sure, even though that roof membrane is sort of 9 years old by now, I wanted to make sure we weren't compromising it. Also contacted our long-term structural engineer that we've used at the building to see if he had any concerns about the installation or anything that we should be mindful of. He'd previously done a wind rating assessment because we had one of our other projects was to replace all of the sliding doors and windows. So I knew he kind of had some of the key information we needed to check. And then got back in touch with Gareth, as Rachel reminded me that he was still around, and that was great to get an updated energy assessment and feasibility study from him. Then I discussed it with another member of a Strata committee also, who is with CEO Strata. They put us in touch, and we had a great few chats about where we were in the process and what else might be a good idea to try. As a result of that, we held a Q&A session with Illume. Thanks, Liz. Hi. That was really helpful. We only invited our committee to that Q&A session. We felt to invite all of the owners was going to be too much. And there was some people on the committee who, weren't 100% sure about whether it was going to be beneficial to the owners enough. They were worried that it was going to be more beneficial for residents. But Liz really helped to explain the way the system worked, and so everyone felt more comfortable that it was actually going to be properly shared and beneficial to owners. And then we got hold of a template for the infrastructure resolution, and Brett went about just updating that with whatever was relevant to our building. And then it coincided nicely with the timing for our AGM. So we put together that quite easily. There was no other controversial things on the agenda for this year, which was good. And then, Brett and I spent a lot of time sort of strategizing about the AGM. So we can move on to the next slide, Rach, because I think that's all about our strategy. I sent a letter around from the committee to accompany the AGM papers, because all of this happened quite quickly, and really we hadn't updated all of the owners in what was going on until this point. So it was a bit of a surprise when they received the AGM papers and saw that. And when there's something like this, it always generates more interest. And so we did have more people attend the AGM. One really important point was we didn't need a special levy, which is quite a surprise in our building, because as we know, funds are always tight, but somehow we had a good enough stash there, and we knew a long-term problem with one of the ex-owners was coming to resolution. Somebody hadn't paid their levies for many years. Yeah, there was a huge amount of cash coming in for that as well, which helped us to justify that we didn't need a special levy to go ahead with the project. Um, at the AGM, we invited both representatives from the two quotes that we had chosen to pitch their ideas. So at the very start of the meeting, we had one guy come on, talk about the system, answer questions. He jumped off. Then the other guy jumped in. He explained his system, answered any questions, and then so they were both out of the meeting. And Gareth, the energy consultant, he was there during the whole meeting as well. So he then spoke to his energy assessment and feasibility study, and he helped to answer any questions that were still outstanding from the quotes. And then it just came down to the vote. And this was the hardest part to get across, but we got it across the line. We chose actually the slightly more expensive system. And I have to say, like thinking back, that common property system that we looked at 5 years ago was around about 20,000, and this project is around 200,000. So it is it's a much more significant system, but obviously with better benefits overall. So once that vote was passed, it just paved the way that the sustainability infrastructure resolution had to get passed. Otherwise, we couldn't move forward with the project. So that was sort of like, yep, tick, everyone's happy with that. So I think on the last couple of slides, I just have a little snip from our AGM papers, which shows you the piece de resistance that we are free to have a common rooftop solar system. And that's our story. Thanks, Brent.